Today we're talking about how to avoid yoga teacher burnout. There can be this reluctance to talk about burnout in the yoga space is what I'm seeing, because what would people think of us as yoga teachers? You know, we teach yoga and we're supposed to love it 24/7. And so burnout doesn't really kind of sit well with that. It doesn't go hand in hand. The journey to overcoming burnout is personal, and I'm here today to just really offer an alternative perspective so that you can avoid teetering on the brink of exhaustion. I've found, being in this space now for some time, that actually burnout is all too common, in the world of teaching yoga, and that's why I'm really kind of shining a light on it today and why I want to talk about it. And I believe that, understanding it is really the first step in addressing it. You've likely experienced burnout to some degree, and it's this feeling, when you wake up and the mere thought of work fills you with dread. Sitting down at your computer, sitting down at your laptop, and your mind goes blank. And even though, you know that there's work to be done, there can be this kind of overwhelming feeling that comes with it. And the emotional and physical exhaustion can be overwhelming, and it often comes with resentment. It's this space that you get into where you kind of feel like you've lost your spark for the things that you love. And you'll know that if you have experienced it, you'll know it's when you're absolutely drained from the stress that's building up from your day-to-day routine and the day-to-day schedule. Anyone can get burnout, like even yoga teachers, even Zen yoga teachers can get burnout. And, it doesn't just show up in one way. There's actually a few ways that it shows up. There's the physical, there's mental, and there's emotional exhaustion. And that means that, it can mess with your body in all sorts of ways. And, if you're finding yourself like constantly tired, or you're lacking motivation, it can sound counterintuitive really, because yoga is obviously all about, finding your inner balance. But you've made yoga into your career, and that can pile on extra pressure, because now you're expected to teach classes, you're expected to grow your community, boost your social media following, all of that stuff. And when you can't handle all of those things, and you can't handle that pressure properly, suddenly you've got burnout on your hands. And one of the main culprits of this burnout is teaching too many classes, right? It's overbooking your schedule. When you're running from one class to the next, it's a fast track to burnout. And, when you're just teaching in studios, you have to teach a lot of classes. You have to teach a lot of studio classes to pay the bills, right? And so the schedule all of a sudden becomes packed. And likely these studios that you're teaching in are dotted around town, wherever it is that you're living. I remember when I was living in London and I was teaching yoga in London, and I wasn't teaching in studios. I was finding spaces, I was renting spaces out, and I was setting up my own classes. But I had a lot of yoga teacher friends that were teaching in studios, and they were running around London, from East London in the morning, getting on the overground or getting on the underground, and then off they went to West London, and then they'd have to go to South London. And it was this race around town to go and teach all of these classes in a day, and it's exhausting. And so, there's likely going to be travel involved, and especially, if you look at your schedule, when are most classes happening in a studio? Early morning or in the evening, right? Yes, you'll have some in the lunchtime as well, but there's the early morning slots, and then there's the after work slots. And so that means, you might be getting less sleep as you've got these early starts for the morning classes, and then potentially you're getting home late from teaching the evening classes. And so, you might start neglecting self-care or skipping your own practice. And there's just no time for yourself. What I will say here is that, people often confuse burnout with stress or anxiety. And stress is really your body's way of telling you that it's under pressure. It's usually fixable, once the source of the stress has gone. Burnout, on the other hand, is like stress on steroids. It's because of this kind of long-term exposure. If the source is there for a long period of time, then that stress is going to turn into burnout. And so, just keeping a lookout for some early warning signs, really. Like if you're feeling tired and exhausted all the time, if you feel like you're drowning in overwhelm, if you've got this kind of glass half empty attitude and you're doubting yourself a lot and you're procrastinating a lot and you're kind of getting cozy with this feeling of helplessness, they are signs that you could be kind of on your way to burnout. And it's not a good place. It's not a place that we want to be, because it's a lot more challenging to get yourself out of that space. Let's look then at the culprits, okay? We've talked about some of the culprits, but one of the main culprits of this is teaching too many classes. Sometimes up to 20 classes a week. It can really have a knock-on effect on so many things. I've heard countless stories of teachers who are struggling with this, struggling to get out of this space where, we're having to teach that many classes because we've got to pay our bills at the end of the month. And in order to pay the bills, you have to teach that many classes. So this is where we need to start putting our business hat on and really looking at the numbers, looking at how much am I being paid to teach those studio classes? How much do I need to be paid in order to pay my bills at the end of the month? And what else can I be looking at? Like, what other avenues are there available to me to actually make money where I'm not relying on teaching in studios and having to teach 20 classes in the week just to be able to survive and pay the bills? What are you being paid to teach in studios? And I know from, I've asked this question in the past. In London, it's around £30, I think, £30 an hour, which, as we know, is not just an hour, is it? Because you have your travel time getting there and getting home again. So if we have this data available to us, we know how much we need to be able to cover our bills at the end of the month. We know how much the studio is paying us. And so, where's the gap here? If we don't want to teach 20 classes a week, then what's the gap? What else do you need to do in order to fill that gap? And so it doesn't have to be a challenge, right? It doesn't have to be a challenge, but you need to take ownership yourself and look at, okay, well, what else can I do? Can I set up events? This is something that I used to do when I was teaching in London, when I had my business there. I used to set up events, yoga events. They were great and a really great income stream for me every month. So there's, you can start to get a bit creative. But burnout shouldn't be the story of a yoga teacher. It really shouldn't. And we're hearing it too often, way too often for my liking. So I want to kind of share a bit of my own journey around burnout and what that's looked like for me over the years, because it is something that I've encountered at various stages of my career, not just here at Digital Yoga Academy, but my marketing career, in my yoga teaching career. And it looks different to what it did in the early days, but with Digital Yoga Academy specifically, in the early days I was working one-to-one a lot more, and I had a lot of private clients, too many really than I could kind of handle. And I also had no boundaries really, so I was always going above and beyond and always giving way more support than I was supposed to give. That was kind of promised within the container that those students were in. And it wasn't sustainable for me. I was running two businesses side by side. So I was hosting my retreats and I was doing my private client calls, and then I was trying to set up my first group program. It was way too much. And fast forward 6 years later, and there's been periods of burnout, but what's different now is that I have the tools to cope, or I recognize it. So some of those early warning signs that I talked about at the start of today's training, I I recognize these things sooner, and I have the tools to be able to manage it. And I know when I need to step up support from my team. I understand, how to protect myself better through stronger boundaries. Yeah, we're all learning about boundaries. And, the lesson here is that burnout isn't one size fits all. Like, it evolves, and our ability to manage it evolves with us. And you as yoga teachers are not immune to it. Like, none of us are immune to it. I'm no exception. Like, when life gets tough and overwhelming, I've learned to step back and acknowledge any exhaustion that I'm feeling and rest. And that's taken some practice. It has taken some practice. But the key strategy that I've used to avoid burnout is to set up my business in a way that goes against burnout, that doesn't make burnout an inevitable outcome, right? And two things have happened, right? I grew my coaching and my mentorship team to take the pressure off the one-to-one clients off me. Okay, so I trained up a team of mentors to be able to deliver one-to-one sessions to our students here at Digital Yoga Academy. And my one-to-one capacity goes to the teachers who are in the Visionary Mastermind, and also to my Accelerate clients. So these are all clients, these are all teachers who are further on in their business, and they're the teachers that I support on a one-to-one basis. And for the teachers that are earlier on in their journey, they will join the programs, Yogipreneur Launchpad or Profitable Yoga Teacher Program, and if they want one-to-one support, they can have that, but they get it from the team that's been trained up by me. So that's been a huge step to relieve that pressure. And then the other thing is I've grown my group programs. Okay, I've grown my group programs, and this has not only been a game changer for my business, but also my mental health, because these programs that I've created have really given me the freedom to run my business on my terms and maintain my sanity, right? Because when you're spinning a lot of plates, you have to make ease a priority. And so having an online asset in my business, or having many online assets in my business now, these courses and programs, is about ease. It's about ease. It's about being able to satisfy my mission, which is to be able to serve more people, but also make my life easier, right? So I'm not feeling at capacity all the time. I'm not feeling too overwhelmed and not feeling burnt out. So when I think about yoga teachers who are caught in this grind of teaching one-to-one private clients or teaching multiple studio classes, okay, like what we've been talking about, that burnout can be suffocating. And some of you, if you're in that, if that's you, you might even contemplate returning to a 9-to-5 job to escape it. I mean, that's not where we want to be, right? That's definitely not where we want to be. So I'm here to say that's not the solution, right? You have valuable skills that need to be shared, and really, burnout should not be the thing that's holding you back from doing that, or should not be the thing that's, changing the path that you're on to actually creating a thriving yoga business. So there's definitely changes that you can make now to prevent this, to prevent any kind of future burnout that might come along. And really, it's about looking at your business model. Okay, so looking at, what am I currently doing right now? Where is it not working? What do I need to do? And by creating an online asset, like an online course that you can sell again and again, this is a route for you to actually future-proof your business. And yes, there's a lot of work up front, right? There's a lot of things that you need to do in order to make that happen, like to get the initial setup in place, to get your course created, to actually grow a community that will be interested in your online course. and, to learn about actually launching the course, because launching isn't just getting on stories and saying, hey guys, I have an online course, or posting something on social media, posting something on Instagram, or sending an email out to your list and calling that a launch. That is not launching, right? That is definitely not launching. And so there's lots to learn, and of course it's a lot of work, but if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I'll always say to you, anything that's going to be a game changer in your business or a game changer in your life is going to require some work. Yeah, so let's not kid ourselves and pretend that all of this is easy. Like, it's easier when you have support, but it's not something that's easy to do. It's something that requires commitment. It's something that requires your vision, right? Something that requires your passion and your purpose for you to be truly invested in this. You want to go out there and you want to help people with your knowledge, your expertise, and the gifts that you have. Yeah. So, and it's something that really, it requires grit, stay on the path, learn, keep launching, keep learning, and you're going to get there. But once you've got your course, you've got structure, you've got consistency in your message, it can reduce your overall like hustle and workload. So really it's about it's considering it as an investment in your future. Like, the effort that you put in up front, it always pays off in the long run. And, when you've got your course, when you have your course in place and you've launched it at least once, you're not starting from scratch again, are you, the next time you do it? Because you've gone through the process and now, you have a foundation to build on. So burnout actually happens when you're constantly reinventing the wheel, right? When you're doing things for the first time all the time, like when you're doing new things all the time, like that's a recipe for exhaustion, right? It's brain power, exhaustion, it's doing all the things, it's creating things all the time. It's too much, when you're always doing that and you're on this kind of hamster wheel of creating. It's too much. And when you've done a launch, you've created the course, you've created all the assets, and so the next time round it's a case of like, okay, what do I do now to just improve on what I've already done? And if you build on what you've already created, you refine it, right? You refine it from good to great. And you can avoid this burnout that we've been talking about, because eventually you start getting students in your online courses, you can reduce the number of classes that you're teaching in studios. Yeah, you can start to make that reduction. And I always encourage you to reduce some of those classes anyway, because right now what you're not doing is giving yourself time to be able to create. Yeah, you're not giving yourself enough time to work on things like building your community, creating an online course. If all of your time is spent right now running around town teaching 20 yoga classes a week, I can guarantee that you don't have the time to work on your business. And so you get stuck in this loop of, well, I want to do this thing, but I don't have the time to do it because I'm busy teaching. Reduce your classes. Reduce them. Just look at them and look at the ones that really aren't lighting you up. The one that you have to maybe travel for an hour to get to. Reduce it. Reduce it, right? Take back that time, because, you might miss out on £30, but you spend time working on a task that's worth £500. Yeah? One sale, if you have a course that you price £500, one sale, that's £500 in your pocket. You need to create that course in order to get that money in your pocket, which means you need time. You need to free up your time. So it might feel like a risk because it's less money coming in right now, but in the future, it's not a risk, is it? The only risk is you not doing the work. That's the only risk. So, in the future, you open yourself up to be able to make more money. Yeah, so it's a short-term thing, isn't it? It's a short-term thing. And these are the types of decisions you have to make as a business owner. And always remember, when something feels risky, the only risk is you not doing the work. Yeah, it's you not showing up and doing the work. And this is why you're here in this community, because you can have support doing this. Yeah, you don't have to be trying to figure all this out on your own. You're here and you can get support that you need. This is what Digital Yoga Academy is here for, is to be able to support you on this journey. So, I want all yoga teachers to succeed. Yeah, I want all of you guys to succeed so that more people out there can benefit from yoga. And I've seen, what having an online course has done for my students. For those students who have gone through the Profitable Yoga Teacher program and they've launched their course, I've seen the impact that it has, right, on their business and in their lives. And, I've seen my students who have small communities and who had no prior marketing knowledge create real success in their lives from their online course. And I want this for you too. So, when you've live launched an online course at least a few times, the great thing that you can do is you can then work at putting that course onto evergreen. Okay, and evergreen means that it's available to your students all year round. So this is what Yogipreneur Launchpad is on. It's an evergreen program, okay, which means it's available to teachers every day of the year, and it takes some work to get to this stage. So this is related to passive income, right? So we all hear about that. We hear about passive income, and we all want passive income in our businesses. Of course we do. And I always say it's never truly passive, because you still have to do the work, right? You still have to keep showing up. You still have to keep being, visible. Of course, but once you put your course onto evergreen, you have the potential to create passive income. Okay, you have the potential to wake up in the morning and see that a sale has arrived in your inbox overnight. But this takes some work. It takes some work to get there, and you need to have live launched your online course at least a few times before you do it. Okay, so this is another strategy to free up your time and to avoid burnout. So it's all possible, but it starts with your online course that you've created and live launched. When you have that online course, you're no longer trading time for money, right? You're no longer trading your time for money. And you're also able to go deeper with your students, beyond what you can provide in a drop-in class or a one-off experience. So it allows you to really go deeper with your students. It also helps you to reach students all around the world. So if right now you are just teaching in studios, and I'm not saying don't ever teach in studios, you can still do that, but don't just rely on that as your only income stream. Create something else in your business that allows you to reach and work with students all over the world, that allows you to create this flexibility, allows you to work from anywhere in the world if you want to, right? Because you're not reliant on having to just go and teach in a studio. And what I'll say to you, if this is something you are considering, what you know now is enough. Right? What you know now is enough. You just need to learn how to package up your knowledge and your expertise into an online course. Yeah. And, you have to have the belief. You need to believe in yourself. You need to start believing in yourself, right? That what you know is enough. And, you learn so much when you go through the process of creating a course, which is the really cool thing about it. There you go. So this is your way to avoid yoga teacher burnout. And we've been talking about the path to passive income, freedom, and creating a legacy. And that is, of course, through your online yoga course. So I'm going to be teaching about this in a 7-day immersion that's happening from the 27th of September. It's called the Online Yogi. I'm super excited. And this is one of our events that we do. We do this twice a year, more or less, as part of our launch for the Profitable Yoga Teacher program. So if you're actually interested in the Profitable Yoga Teacher program, this is your opportunity to come in to a learning experience with me and to really understand, what this whole process is all about, but also to be guided by me throughout the immersion. and yeah, to see if this is something that you truly want to do in your business. As I say, it's going to be a week long. There's masterclasses every day. You have a break over the weekend, so it's time to catch up or just have a break. And yeah, I want to see you there. If you're considering creating a course in your business, I would love for you to come and join inside this immersion. We're going to have lots going on, and it's going to be a real opportunity for you to really just take the first steps to getting your course created. Thank you so much for being here with me today, guys. I will be back again on Thursday. You've got 2 this week. But yes, go and check out the online yogi immersion, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.